We have a double preview for today's video with two promising games both in early access as of right now. First, the action roguelite Vellum, and then the automation for beginners take of Oddsparks. Before we begin, of course, with both of these games in early access, which you see may not represent the current versions of either one. But we're beginning with Vellum. We play as the scribe of a magical library where tomes of unknown power and importance reside. When an evil corruption threatens to destroy everything that's in there, we must enter books and battle the evil using the power of ink in order to save the day. So this is an action roguelite. In a way, it reminds me a little bit of like a Risk of Rain 2, maybe just in terms of like the general movement and the flow of it. You'll be able to play this one co-op as well, and you'll choose from different colored ink, and this represents your quote-unquote class. One color can be more about direct damage, AoE, another one could be about more summoning units, etc, etc. You'll also choose a different main attack. And when you go into a tome, this turns into a roguelite level, where you'll go from arena to arena, deciding which upgrades you want to take. Now there is story progression, well obviously because of the fact we're in books, that each episode has different rules and considerations that you'll have to deal with. One may give you AI partners that can help you, and you can also upgrade them. And you'll also decide how the level or the episode gets harder as you go through it. For each arena, your job is simply kill everything that stands in your way and try not to die in the process. There are additional difficulty multipliers and ways of progressing the difficulty as you play. The game features an account progress level that dictates what you have access to, which tomes you can do, and unlocks additional subsystems and progression, such as being able to upgrade your primary attack or the different colored ink to give you more bonuses, unlock more abilities, etc, etc. And I enjoyed this one. Now, the general combat playing this as a single player did feel a little bit repetitive. And this one does feel like it will shine more if you get at least a buddy or two to play it with. But there's definitely a lot of potential here as another action roguelite take on the market. And while we didn't get a chance to see just how nasty the game can get in terms of difficulty, and while we didn't get a chance to see just how hard this game will get, I did take a peek at the progressive difficulty modifiers, and some of these can be quite challenging to go through. So if you and up to 3 other friends are looking for another action roguelite to add to your routine of games to play, then I definitely recommend you check this one out. We now switch gears, pun intended, to Oddsparks. When a device crash lands in our quaint little village, foretelling a possible cataclysm that's going to happen, we must use the power of friendship and automation to save the day. Now, this one is not built as kind of an open-ended or sandbox style game, but instead an adventure with progression and quests to do. The various people you meet will have various objectives for you to accomplish, most of them involving, well, crafting lots and lots of things. Beating them will unlock additional buildings and structures and move the story along. To aid you, you must use the adorable Sparks, creatures that can be constructed and ordered to perform various tasks. Similar to that of the Peakmen, Sparks come in different shapes and varieties with jobs that are best suited to specific ones. Now, if you're hoping for Factorio or Dyson Sphere program levels of complexity and automation, Oddsparks is not going to be about that. The different sparks can be set to perform a task repetitively. Different buildings will have like different requirements for sparks, and the more you put in them, the faster they'll do their job. In order to set up a basic kind of loop, you'll build roads and the sparks will perform tasks that are context sensitive as they run along the road. They'll pick up something on item A, they'll bring it to a structure, then they can move or take that item to a container or storage device, and it's going to be about setting up the roads and the pathing in order for them to keep the job going. And many of the resources that you'll be able to harvest or mine are infinite nodes. So you're not going to worry about having to constantly run out of trees to cut, or rocks to mine, and so on. As the game goes on, you'll be able to unlock additional quality of life features and upgrades, just being able to have more sparks to aid you, more different kinds of sparks. And the world, I believe, is procedurally generated at the start, but I can't tell you just how far it goes in terms of differences. The game also features multiplayer, so if you want one person to hang back and do all the crafting while you do the exploration, you can do that. Now, the game is kind of set up, at least from what we played during the early access, that you have your kind of village quest area separate from the world itself. And it did not appear that the sparks that you set up to work in the field area, that will continue if you're in the wooded zone or in the village zone. So if you set up a bunch of stuff and then leave, it may not complete the task that you want. So it's more or less set up that you want all your sparks to be tasked to their respective buildings, and then you explore the world. When you're done, you go back to your harvesting and production lines, see what's done, go back to the village, and rinse and repeat. In terms of difficulty, again, I don't know how hard or if this game will get a lot harder to play. There is basic combat involved, and it's more along the lines of, again, like of a Pikmin, where you'll throw your sparks at enemies, and then they'll go into combat, get the resources, and you can always craft more. And the game is very easy to set up in terms of basic automation. Once you have your kind of first assembly line done to kind of constantly produce the spark tokens that you need, you are off to the races. I don't know if there will be advanced automation elements in this one, so just being able to set up, if-then loops, being able to have characters go down multiple paths, and it did feel a little bit cumbersome in terms of setting up, like, I want to store something, but I also want it to be used as part of the resource for another production line. Now, those features may come later in the game or later in early access, but I don't know as of this time. And again, this feels like another really solid entry-level take on the genre. And if you're looking once again for another game that is going to be great to kind of introduce someone to the likes of automation, assembly lines, and producing lots and lots of goods, and has co-op to boot, then Oddsparks may be a really solid game to check out. I don't know what else they're going to add other than, of course, more content, and whether or not we'll see more quality of life features to the game as it gets further in early access. It can be a little bit odd, somewhat pun intended, to control, whether you're using keyboard and mouse or gamepad. Some things felt easier to control with the keyboard, and others felt easier to control with the gamepad. And you're just going to have to, I think, kind of play around and figure out which one works best for you. But we're going to end the video here. We have two very solid, promising games, both with co-op, and they are both certainly worth your time if you're looking for something to get excited about. I'd like to thank developers for giving me press keys for both. If you want me to go to your game for a future stream, showcase, and video, please reach out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and I hope you enjoyed the video, and see you next time. Thanks for watching, and a special thank you to our Patreon supporters. If you enjoyed the video, do the YouTubing stuff, be sure to visit our Discord and Patreon, and you're interested in more in my thoughts on design, check out my game design books.